Welcome back to Up Front. Is Wisconsin's U.S. Senate race going to be the nail-biter of the night statewide on Tuesday? Earlier in this program, we talked about this race in the context of the final Marquette Law School poll, which showed it a one-point contest. We're talking now about this race and the tickets up and down in Wisconsin with our pundit panel, John Nichols, associate editor of the Capital Times and correspondent for The Nation, and Christian Schneider, columnist for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and USA Today. Gentlemen, it's good to have you. Congrats on the column for USA Today.
That's thanks.
Good news for you. John, I'm going to begin with you, but it's the same question for each of you. Do you see any scenario under which Donald Trump ends up winning Wisconsin Tuesday night?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
You do?
Sure. That a lot of people are lying, right? I mean, and I think, I'll say up front, I think Hillary Clinton's going to win. And I actually think she's probably going to win by a reasonably comfortable amount because Trump underplays in some of the suburban areas. But I don't think we should underestimate, and it's been said many times before, the Brexit vote in Britain. In Britain, everybody was saying going in, oh, we're going to stay in Europe. And then what they found out was there's 3 or 4% of people, maybe more, who just weren't comfortable telling a pollster that they were anti-Europe. After everything that's come out about Donald Trump, I don't rule out that there is a chunk of people who might not acknowledge it. So that's the scenario. And Trump obviously believes it. I mean, they clearly see a possibility.
You have not been a Donald Trump guy throughout this whole process, but do you see, is it possible that he could win here on Tuesday night?
You know, he hasn't been up in any poll or even close here in Wisconsin in a while. I'm actually surprised it's even so close, even in the Marquette poll, because the underlying numbers are so terrible for him. I mean, he's got this huge gender gap. Republicans, only 81% of Republicans favor him. 35% of the people don't even think he's qualified to be president, and yet he's down only 6, which is even closer than what Romney-Obama was in 2012. You know, in order to win the state, he would have to get all of Romney's votes and then some. And even in the wow counties outside of Milwaukee, he's not going to do that well. So I don't see a path for him.
So he's doing, in the latest poll, he's doing well in the Green Bay media market, much better than Romney did. He's doing pretty well outstate now. He's got a 5 or 6 point margin in the rest of the state. Do you not have this feeling that on Election Day, when people in the wow counties go to the polls, they're ginned up about Ron Johnson, they want to see Ron Johnson reelected, then they step into that voting booth and they say, I've got to make a decision, and I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm going to do it?
I think I see probably a lot of them leaving that space blank.
Just blank?
Or, there's Evan McMullin out there, or somebody that you can actually, vote your conscience with.
Would you spell Evan McMullin's name for folks?
He's been on this show. We had him on.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice guy.
I can't imagine he's going to get a huge percentage of the vote, but for those who need to be able to sleep at night, like me, that's a possibility. But, he's going to do well. He needs to get 68%, like in Waukesha County, that area. I don't think he's going to get there. I just think the conservative media in this area has been so tough on him. A lot of people are just going to say this just isn't a guy that we can support.
I mentioned Ron Johnson, John Nichols, and we'll switch over to the Senate race. Are you surprised at where this race is? It apparently is basically a dead heat. Are you surprised by that?
I don't think it's a dead heat.
You don't? You think Feingold's ahead?
Well, yeah, he's a little more ahead than the Marquette poll showed. And that's not a criticism of the Marquette poll because there are many people who are, have tried to figure out that it was wrong only to find it did well. So it's not to suggest that, but my sense is that Russ Feingold will get every Clinton vote. He'll, I would assume, get just about every Jill Stein vote. It's a small number, but there, and I think he's probably going to get a chunk of the Johnson-Well libertarian folks. And so you keep adding on to his number. The final thing about Russ Feingold, and I know it is a close race, there's no doubt, but I believe that the way for a Democrat to win Wisconsin is to be very, very serious about northern Wisconsin and western Wisconsin, to spend a lot of time in those places. And I don't think polling and I don't think political pundits and political elites tend to pay a lot of attention to those places. But when Democrats get into the 45, 48% and even over that in some of those western and northern counties, they tend to win. Feingold has spent immense amounts of time out there, and I just think at the end of the day, my gut is that he can pull this off. However, yeah, it's a real race, and it's a real race partially. Let's be clear. We've lied to ourselves about the presidential race. We say, well, it's all about personalities, and Trump, he really didn't spend that much money, and blah, blah, blah. He's spending a lot at the end. This Senate race is awash in special interest money. It's just flowing in at the end, and that has, frankly, I think pumped Ron Johnson up a little bit at the close.
Obviously, John mentions the money, and we've just seen millions of dollars come in the final days of this campaign. And there are groups who sort of wrote off Ron Johnson, now investing in this race. What are they seeing? John thinks clearly Russ Feingold's ahead by some margin. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, you remember a few months ago when we were talking about this race, one of the big stories was that nobody even really knew who Ron Johnson was, even 5 years after he'd been in Senate. So that's a bad thing on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a good thing because then you get to redefine who you are. And so I think he's taken a lot of these ads, a lot of his positive ads talking about job creation in Milwaukee and things like that, and kind of mixed them in with negative ads about Feingold. And I think he's gotten to define who he is. And you see his favorables going up and up and up in the polls. And I think it's been a stroke of genius. Now, whether he catches him at the end, I don't know, but
you want to go out on a limb on that one?
It's been 36 years since a Republican has won a Senate seat in a presidential year in Wisconsin. So I mean, it's a tough task to catch him, but I think it's going to be close.
I want to take a quick break, guys. We'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll have more from our panel, including we'll talk a little bit about any congressional races to watch and the state Senate. Are there any upsets in the making? And we're asking the question on our Upfront Facebook page. Who are you voting for on Tuesday? You can tell us by liking and sharing Upfront on Facebook.